Boldwood presents Golden Girls on the Run, written by Judy Leigh and read by Phillida Nash. Dear reader, if you've already read The Vintage Village Bake Off, thank you. You'll have met Robert Parkin and his sisters Hattie and Bunty, who live in Millbrook and Ballycotton, fictitious towns in Devon and Ireland respectively. Robert is, you'll remember, a talented and much admired baker. Hattie has recently moved to Devon to live near him. You'll soon meet Sadie, who is the mother of Sean, Bunty's husband, and Bronagh, who's the sister of Sadie's deceased husband, Alfie. They are both widows who live next door to each other in Ballycotton. In the previous novel, Sean and Bunty have at last come to terms with the long-ago infant death of their only child, Daniel, and returned together to Ireland. You'll meet two of Sadie's other grown children, Neil and Nora, and their spouses. You'll also meet the wonderful Rory, Sadie's grandson. Sadly, you won't meet Bronagh's only daughter, Kathleen, who is a nun. I hope you'll enjoy the characters, old and new, and their journey. Best wishes, Judy. Prologue. The pale morning sun streamed through the window. Robert Parkin was lying on the sofa in the conservatory, eyes closed, listening to Bach's Goldberg variations. His cat, Isaac Newton, was stretched across his chest, purring with one eye open. The music rose and lilted, and Robert breathed out calmly. He was almost asleep when there was a knock at the front door. Tressie's voice came from the kitchen. "Can you get that, my lover? I'm just taking the key lime pie out of the freezer." Robert, long and lean and septuagenarian, blinked hard and sat up. He took a moment to remind himself that he was in his home in Devon with his beloved Tressie, and they'd planned a trip to Cornwall to see some of Tressie's friends. They were leaving in an hour. "Hattie!" he called out. Then he remembered that his sister was in Oxfordshire. Her house had sold. She was collecting the last of her things and putting her piano into storage. She'd be back in a day or two. The knock came again, a little more persistent. "I'm coming," Robert said. But in fact he was still standing in the conservatory listening to Bach. It was an effort, but he propelled himself forward through the hall towards the door and tugged it open. A blast of cold winter air hit him in the face, and he was suddenly wide awake. "Hello, Angie." Angie Pollock was wearing a tightly belted coat and scarlet lipstick, leather knee boots. She leaned seductively against the door jamb. "Robert, I need your help badly," she purred. "I made a sponge cake and it didn't rise. I wondered if you could advise me." "Did you leave the oven open or overbake it?" "I've no idea." Angie fluttered her eyelashes. "I really need one of your recipes." She shivered dramatically. "Can I come in?" "Well, Tressie and I are off to Cornwall," Robert said, not knowing whether to invite Angie in or not. She could be persistent, and she wouldn't want to leave until she'd tried his baked goods. "When are you leaving? Are you staying there for Christmas?" "No, we'll be back in Millbrook soon. You remember I'm doing a talk on icing cakes in the Pig and Pickle." "So, why are you going to Cornwall?" "Tressie's Cornish. We're catching up with some of her old friends. She used to run a tea shop in Padstow and they've taken it over. They're new agers and Tressie's made them an avocado key lime pie." "Oh, I wouldn't like that." Angie pulled an unimpressed face. "But then I'm not Tressie, am I?" Tressie appeared at the door, just beneath Robert's arm. "Key lime pie's very nice with avocados, and a ginger biscuity base." She beamed. "Hello, Angie." "Hello, Tressie." Angie's voice was less than enthusiastic. I need to see Robert. I need his help with my sponge. It wouldn't rise. Well, I'm afraid I'm taking him away for a few days, maid, so you'll have to manage. But I'm sure he'll be able to help when we get back. Tressie's grin broadened. And we'll see you in December's meeting in the Pig and Pickle. Oh, Angie looked disappointed. When exactly are you back from Cornwall? We haven't decided. Next Thursday, maybe. We'll see how we get on. Tressie tugged Robert's arm. We'd better get a move on. Yes, Robert paused. Tressie's face always reminded him of an apple. Round, sweet, beautiful. He couldn't help how she made him feel. So, who's looking after all the animals while you're away? Angie wanted to make conversation, to stay as long as possible. Francis, Robert said. It helps to have a vicar on side. And Eric said he'd look in on the chickens. And Colin and Barry will pop in. That's half the village, Angie said. Tressie pressed her arm kindly. When we're back, come round and I'll give you my recipe for Cornish heather cake. That doesn't sound very inviting. Angie made an unimpressed face. I prefer Robert's fluffy sponge. There was a moment's uncomfortable silence. Well, we'd better get off. Robert shifted his feet awkwardly. Right. Angie didn't move. Tressie gave her a smile. Then it'll be Christmas and we'll have a drinks party here. You're always welcome, Angie. Oh, thanks, Tressie. Angie finally seemed ready to leave. She fluttered her fingertips in the air. Have a lovely time then, Robert. I will, Robert said. He and Tressie stood in the hall and he closed the door with a clunk. Tressie gave a mischievous smile. Grab the cases, Robert. Let's make a dash for it. Why? Robert looked confused. I just saw Susan Joyce coming down the road, marching with intent. Tressie winked. She'll be wanting some jam for her scones. If she comes in, she'll stay for an hour. Oh, my goodness, it never ends. Robert let out a long breath. Yes, let's go to Cornwall. Tressie kissed his lips. I can't wait. Just me and you, Cornish pasties, scones done the right way, cream on top. The cream goes on first. Robert kissed her back. It's the only thing we disagree on. Tressie rolled her eyes. They'd been together such a short time, after last summer's bake-off. But they'd never argued once. Only a few weeks to Christmas. We'll be busy when we get back. Then let's enjoy these few days. Robert was thinking of brisk early morning walks on Padstow Beach, lingering over coffee at breakfast. Next year, we should go to Bunty's, Tressie said. I haven't been to Ireland in a long time, Robert smiled. I bet they're having fun in Ballycotton. Bunty and Sean and their big family. Then we should definitely go, Tressie said. Mind you, I bet it's cold there this time of year. It must be, Robert said. There was a thump on the door. Robert looked suddenly nervous. It's Susan. Can you talk to her? Tressie took his hand. We'll give her a pot of jam and a quick tittle-tattle. Then you and me'll take ourselves off to Cornwall. Tressie stood on tiptoe and brushed his lips lightly with hers. We both need a break, Robert. Chapter 1. Ballycotton, County Clare, Ireland. It's Baltic this morning, Sadie. A gravelly voice that belonged in a horror movie screeched from the other side of the fence. It's Baltic every morning in Ballycotton, Sadie O'Connor said grimly as she pegged a pair of knickers on the line. She changed her mind. They'll be solid with frost within the hour. I'll put them on the rack in the bathroom. Fancy a cup of tea? Let's have a quick half in the hole in the wall instead. Ryan'll have a roaring fire going, and it's not raining, which is unusual for a Saturday." Bronagh Doyle poked her head above the wooden fence. She presented a happy face that wrinkled like a walnut. Her usually wild hair was a mixture of purple and natural silver, now pulled back in a knot, and she blinked through gold-rimmed glasses. "So come on, Sadie, let's wet our whistles in the hole." "Ah, you've talked me into it." Sadie put her hands on her hips. She was taller than Bronagh, broader and 2 years older. But Bronagh had always been the bad influence. Sadie smiled, filled as ever with affection for her best friend and sister-in-law. "If I stay here, I'll only feel sorry for myself. Let's get ourselves some mother's ruin." "I was ruined long ago," Bronagh cackled. "I'll meet you at the front door." 5 minutes later, Sadie and Bronagh stood side by side in coats and headscarves at number 11 and number 13 Kildare Avenue. They'd lived there all their married lives, since Sadie had married Bronagh's brother, Alfie, and Bronagh had married Michael Doyle. God rest them both. Bronagh threaded an arm through Sadie's. "Here we come, Ballycotton's answer to Thelma and Louise." "I hope not." Sadie was appalled. "Didn't they kill someone?" "Well, Cagney and Lacey then." "They were sleuths. I'm not getting into any trouble." "Well, French and Saunders." "Comedians, that's us." Sadie felt pleased. "Good friends, up for a bit of crack." "And they're good-looking," Bronagh added. "I'll be Saunders." "All right." Sadie paused, thinking. "Wasn't the French one the vicar somewhere?" "I think so," Bronagh said. "She acts the maggot, doesn't she? Always up for shenanigans. That's us." "I was thinking, Ryan does stew and soda bread on a Saturday. Will we stop for lunch?" "And make an afternoon of it," Sadie said. "Sean and Bunty might be in. Sean's always good for a round." "We can buy our own." "I know, but Neil loves to treat us. That's 2 drinks and a plate of stew." "Indeed, what's the point in having children if they don't treat you?" "I often regret that Michael and I only had the one child, and Kathleen's dedicated her life to the Lord, so she'll not be standing us lunch in the pub." Bronagh hugged Sadie's arm against the wind. "Ah, but we need something to keep the cold out." "The stew?" "The drink." They turned the corner where the hole in the wall came into view, an old brick building with welcoming lights twinkling in the windows. Sadie pointed towards the cars in order to work out which of her children were in the pub. The car park always told a story. Sean's Peugeot 406 estate stood next to his brother Neil's Range Rover and Neil's son's Rory's gleaming red Ferrari. Nora and Pat were too busy to drive down today, but the family would all catch up tomorrow for Sunday lunch. Biddy and Brian were away with their sons in Tossa de Mar. Sadie was delighted. Her heart expanded with love for her children every day. "Sean's here." "Sean and Bunty are good as gold," Bronagh agreed fondly. "Neil will put his hand in his pocket too. He made money on the houses he bought and sold in Dublin, but family comes first, always. Rory's his dad's boy. Look at that fancy motor he's bought himself. He makes money hand over fist. He's a sweet young man, though. No airs and graces on him." They approached the Ferrari, and Sadie paused to admire the gleaming paintwork. As ever, she was bursting with pride for her grandson. "It's a big magnet, this car. The whole family has a key to it in their pocket. Everyone likes Rory. Especially the ladies. Rory should settle down." Bronagh frowned. "Is he going out with that Aoife one?" The one with the short skirts and the false eyelashes. I think they split up. She wanted a ring on her finger and Rory's only 26. He likes to play the field. Sadie always felt protective where Rory was concerned. He's got a good heart, though. I always say he's just like my Alfie. Handsome and generous to a fault. Alfie was one of the best, Bronagh agreed. My Michael was a darling too, except when he'd had a glass of port at Christmas. That's the truth. It was never a good thing to let Michael near the port. Sadie smiled as she remembered. Talking of the past always made her feel sentimental, a bit tearful. Remember the time he fell into the acrylic Christmas tree and almost knocked it into the fire? And the time he drew a pair of glasses on the TV screen during Prime Minister's question time. Disrespectful. Bronagh covered a smirk. But it was the drink. Michael and port should never have been in the same room. He was all right on the Guinness, though. She put a finger to the corner of her eye. 10 years my Michael's been gone. And a year later, I lost Alfie. Sadie sighed as she pushed open the door to the hole in the wall, immediately exposing the pair to the heat from the log fire and the strong smell of beer. She visibly pulled herself together. Ah, well, will I get the first one in? I'll have a half, Bronagh began. But a man with pale curls beneath a squashy cap waved from the bar and called over to them. I'll get the mammy. How are you, Auntie Bronagh? I'm grand, Sean, the two women said together, settling themselves at a table, placing their handbags in front of them like shields. A few moments later, a dark-haired woman plonked 2 half-pints in front of them. Here you are. Thanks, Bunty. Sadie reached for her drink. How are your family over in England? They're well, Bunty said. Sean's ordered you both the stew. Ah, he's a good man, Bronagh murmured, her mouth full of stout. Sadie watched her daughter-in-law walk back to Sean at the bar and kiss his cheek. They spoke together quietly, their eyes locked. Bunty and Sean looked happier together than they had in a long while. The sight of them so close together now cheered her. The trip Sean and Bunty took to the Canaries did them good. It'd do me good too, Bronagh grunted, her lips to her glass. Their marriage wasn't quite right, not since little Danny. That must be getting on for 50 years ago. Bronagh made wide eyes. Time flew past. No, things took a big turn for the worse when she took off for Devon in the summer. I think she had a short fling with a plumber. Sean said he was an idiot, but it turned out all right once Sean got there. They're all mad, the English. Since Sean brought her back, they seem more settled. I like Bunty. Sadie's eyes moved to the couple next to them. A tall man with pale curls and his wife, whose face held an expression of distaste. She said, I'm not sure what's wrong with Neil's wife these days. She looks miserable, poor soul. Perhaps Maeve needs more fun. She's a good mammy to Erin and Rory, but Neil doesn't seem to notice her. He's always working. Oh, look, there's Rory. That's a smart suit he's got, Sadie. And another new girlfriend. Look at the big hair and the sprayed-on trousers. But Rory's handsome. Sadie couldn't look at him nowadays without seeing Alfie O'Connor. I don't suppose he's with her for the conversation. Bronagh waved her fingers and called, What's the story, Rory? A good-looking man walked across, wearing a smart suit and a pale shirt. He had a gold earring beneath a floss of dark curls and a cheeky face. How are my favourite ladies? Gorgeous as ever. Don't act the maggot. Bronagh patted her purple hair. flushing pink from the flattery. "You're looking good tonight," Sadie said, lifting her glass, all interest. "Who's the new squeeze?" "She's called Lola, Grandmammy. We're here on a quick visit," Rory said. "I met her in Dublin 2 weeks ago. She's staying with me for the weekend, but we popped over for the afternoon. She's a nice girl." "I bet she is." Sadie raised an eyebrow. "And she's staying at that luxury bachelor pad of yours?" Bronagh asked. "She has a flat in Clondalkin with another girl, but my place is more central." "Does she do the cooking?" Sadie wanted to know. "We order food in." "She doesn't look like she cooks. Look at those fingernails." Bronagh was unimpressed. "Is she the one?" "Ah, no, it's early days," Rory said hesitantly. "Lola's a fancy name." Sadie was fishing for more information. "It's not really Lola at all, it's Lorraine, but she doesn't like it." Rory glanced across the bar. "Can I get you both drinks?" "Why not?" Sadie looked at her half-full glass. "You're not drinking and driving. I saw the car outside. Ryan does a good NA lager, and the Guinness Zero's not bad." "No alcohol, Rory?" Bronagh pulled a disapproving face. "What's the point of it?" "He's brought his car." Sadie elbowed her gently. "How's tricks at work?" "Just grand." Rory ran a casual hair through his curls. "I'm back in Dublin later this week to sort out a few deals." "Does Lola work for you?" Sadie leaned forward. "No, she's a model." "What does she model?" Bronagh was eyeing Lola across the bar. "Is she one of those centrefold women who don't wear anything at all?" "I've no idea." Rory seemed completely oblivious. "Will you have a half pint or a pint?" "A half's grand," Bronagh said. "Besides, Sean's getting a stew." "Coming up." Rory strolled back to the bar. Sadie watched, eyes narrowed as Lola clung to his arm. Ryan, the landlord with pale red hair, brought a tray over, almost balancing it on his belly. The steaming dishes were filled with meat, gravy and chunky vegetables. Sadie closed her eyes, inhaled and said, "It smells lovely." "Enjoy," Ryan said. Bronagh patted his arm. "We can't let you and the missus retire, Ryan. The whole'll be nothing without your stew." "I'm glad you think so." Ryan glanced at Sadie. "Your boy has just been grumbling about my puddings." "Sean?" "Neil. He said my sticky toffee pudding plays havoc with his fillings, and we only ever do sticky toffee." "I didn't know Neil had fillings," Bronagh said. "Doesn't he have all the implants?" "Just a couple," Sadie said. "The ones at the front he knocked out that Christmas Eve." "Neil has a point, though," Bronagh agreed. "You should do a brownie with ice cream." "Or apple cake," Sadie suggested. It had been one of Alfie's favourites. "Or change the pudding every week," Bronagh said. Ryan scratched his head. "It's only me and Emma here." "We were saying," Sean called over from the bar, "you should bake some of the cakes Bunty's brother makes." "So you want me to bake cakes as well?" Ryan was aghast. "Sweets, puddings, cakes. They'd all go down a storm. But I've no time." "That's a shame." Sean brought his half pint from the bar, sat down and cradled it on his knee. "How's your stew, Mammy?" "Grand, thanks, Sean." "My brother could advise you." Bunty plonked herself down next to Sean. "Robert's an amazing baker." "It's made him a sex symbol in England, Ryan. I'm just saying." Neil O'Connor sat on the other side of Sadie and Bronagh. His wife, Maeve, joined him, her leather jeans swishing. "We don't have many sex symbols here," she said pointedly. Neil didn't seem to hear. "Bunty's brother, Robert, was on the TV with his baking." Bunty agreed. They'd sell like hotcakes. Something different from the usual might be nice, Bronagh said. It would. Maeve's expression showed that she wasn't talking about desserts. Alfie always loved my fruit cake. Sadie felt the familiar pang of loss. I make Irish apple cake, Bronagh said. Put custard on it and it's a pudding. I love the soda bread with chocolate in it, Mammy. Best thing I ever had. Neil gushed, and Maeve's face reddened. Maybe we could make biscuits? Ryan was still loitering. We could do biscuits on a weekday, maybe. Well, Bunty beamed. Why don't we have a little mini bake-off here, just for charity, for the fun of it, like Robert did in Devon? You could pick the recipe you like best, Ryan. It wouldn't really matter if you made one here or not. It would be a blast, for charity. She looked pleased with herself. Bake-off? Maeve looked disgusted. Whatever for? Because everybody likes cakes and puddings, Bunty said. An entry fee would raise money for charity. Sean put his hand gently over Bunty's. The Lullaby Trust, for instance. Oh, yes. Bunty squeezed his fingers. Let's have it a week next Saturday and give the other half of the proceeds to the kiddies' Christmas presents fund in Ballycotton. All right. Ryan straightened. A week next Saturday it is. Shall I do posters? Brilliant. We'll fill the bar with treats, and you and Emma can be judges, Ryan, Neil said. I might pick someone else. Ryan scratched his head. I've no sweet tooth at all. Neil seemed to notice Maeve. What will you bake, love? Me? Maeve looked shocked. I don't make cakes or puddings. I buy them from the shop. Maeve runs a tidy home. Sadie was acutely aware of her discomfort. And you're a great mammy, Maeve. You and Erin are so close. And Rory thinks the world of you. Rory's the best son anyone could have. Maeve's face clouded despite the compliment. But Erin's always travelling. I miss her. She clutched her glass. They say a daughter is a friend for life, but Erin has the wanderlust. It's one holiday after the other. Our Biddy's away too in Spain. She's staying all through December. Sadie felt sorry for Maeve. I miss them when they're away. Maeve's face was sad. Neil's never home. Erin and Rory keep me sane. Don't let it get you down. Bronagh patted Maeve's knee. My Kathleen with the Dominican sisters at Siena Convent in Drogheda. She's been there for so long I've forgotten what she looks like. She wiped a tear from her eye. Oh, well. She took a swig from her glass and returned to the stew. You can't have everything. And I was named to be sad. What do you mean? Maeve said, horrified. Sadie's real name is Sorachach. It means bright and shining, whereas Bronagh is from the Irish Gaelic word bron, meaning, she skewered a piece of potato, sorrow. Everyone was quiet for a moment. Then Sean said, A mini bake-off will cheer us all up. A week next Saturday? Bunty asked. Can you invite your sex symbol brother up? Maeve asked hopefully. He could be judge. Bunty said, Robert has chickens and goats to look after. Leave it to us, Ryan. Neil clapped his hands. We'll run the first hole-in-the-wall bake-off. All proceeds to the kiddies' charities and the Lullaby Trust. We'll charge a tenner to enter. You're on, Ryan said. How many cakes and puddings do you think we can line up on the bar? I'll bake something, Rory said cheerily, a bottle of ale in one hand, the other holding an unimpressed Lola's. I'll chuck a donation in too. I'll spread the word around Ballycotton, Sean added. I'll bung something at the oven, Bronagh promised. I might enter. Maeve set her mouth determinedly. I'd love to show Neil that I'm not hopeless in the kitchen. I'd take some convincing, Neil joked, and Maeve shot him an evil look. That's fab, Bunty said. Cakes and puddings and money for charity. She turned to Sean and kissed his cheek. I love a challenge, Sadie winked in Bronagh's direction. So, what treats shall we serve up? Chapter 2. It was 7:30, pitch dark already. One glimmering streetlight illuminating the two houses, number 11 and 13 Kildare Avenue. Sadie and Bronagh emerged through their front doors at the same time, Sadie cradling an old biscuit tin as if it were a sleeping baby. She whispered as if she might wake it. I've made death by chocolate cake. Bronagh, wrapped warmly in her headscarf and coat, said, I made a pineapple upside-down pudding. Sadie looked at her with surprise. Do you like those things? No, they're disgusting, but I had a tin of pineapple rings in the larder and I thought I'd better use them up. Rory's baked a polenta cake, whatever that is when it's at home, but it's grand he can bake. Sadie felt herself puffed with pride as she tucked one arm through Bronagh's, the biscuit tin beneath the other. The air was chilly and she shivered. Bunty's made limoncello scones and Sean's made an egg custard, all from her brother's recipes. Mine's rubbish. Bronagh pushed forward into the raw wind and stared up at the star-filled sky. It's a cold one tonight. Neil says Maeve's made something top secret, but it includes chocolate and Guinness. She thinks it'll impress him. She won't. Bronagh frowned as a gust of wind almost blew her headscarf off. Is Maeve showing off? I think she's lonely. It's because Neil doesn't make her feel like a sexy woman anymore, Bronagh said. You've been reading the romance books again? Sadie grinned. Neil only thinks about work, and the horses, cars, and good whiskey and a day out fishing with the boys. Poor Maeve. She has plenty of money, but she lacks the attention of a good man. You and I were the complete opposite. Bronagh was quiet for a moment. Sadie knew what she was thinking. She missed Michael badly. Alfie's death had left her devastated too. Thank goodness they still had each other. Bronagh continued. Our romance books take you to a place where you feel happy and bathed in a soft light of love, even if it's someone else's. I might lend Maeve a few books. It would cheer her up. I think she'd like Sense and Sensuous or Falling, Falling, Fallen. Are they saucy? Sadie lowered her voice. Ah, they are very saucy. I'll borrow them first, perhaps? Sadie narrowed her eyes to stare at the car park ahead, where the fog had descended and lights glimmered like rising sulphur gas. The car park's full. There's a good turnout. Bronagh was suddenly anxious. Do you think I made a mistake? Doing the pineapple upside-down cake? No, it'll be grand. Anyway, if Bunty's baking her brother's prize-winning scones, we don't need to worry about a winner's speech. Sadie winked. We'll just have a drink or two, scoff a few slices and go home. Right. Bronagh noticed the gleaming Ferrari. Look, Rory's here. Sadie hesitated outside the door, listening. There was a cacophony of voices inside, people cheering. Someone was playing a tune on a banjo, a baron. She felt a moment of anxiety. That's the Clare jig, so Deirdre Quinn's here. There's bound to be trouble. Deirdre's a great musician. Oh, she is, but Sadie lowered her voice as they walked inside the pub. The hole was packed, heaving. There were cakes and desserts displayed on every surface. At the far end of the bar, a woman in a tangerine dress was playing the banjo, a man next to her beating a bodhrán. Sadie's mouth was close to Bronagh's ear. Deirdre was born on the 7th Monday after Easter, Whit Monday. That's a fatal time, Bronagh agreed. My mother used to say that if someone born on that day bumps into you, you'll never recover. Bad luck follows her around like a ghost. Sadie shivered as she stood clutching her tin, watching Deirdre play skibbereen. Her fingers were going 19 to the dozen. Bronagh said, "She's keen tonight." "She is?" Sadie stared round the bar. "But look at all the people. And all the puddings." "Will I put the upside-down pudding in a bin?" Bronagh asked nervously. "There's a jam sponge, a trifle, a tiramisu, and an Arctic roll melting all over the place. They make mine look rubbish." "No, it'll be fine." Sadie tugged Bronagh towards the bar and yelled, "Hello, Ryan. Hello, Emma." Emma Kennedy, a small woman with large glasses, didn't look up from pulling pints. "I put your stouts on the bar. Neil got them in." She blew through her bottom lip, and her fringe lifted on the puff of air. "It's heaving here tonight, and warm. My hot flushes are hell." "I remember the menopause," Bronagh said with a shudder. "You should go to bed and leave Ryan to it." "I wish," Emma said apologetically. "No, I'll battle through. That's what I do. Anyway, we're getting the cakes and puds judged early doors." Sadie was surprised. "I thought you'd wait until last orders." "Deirdre Quinn's here," Emma said to the filling glass. "That's bad luck. Ryan and I thought the judging would happen early, and then she'd go home with £20 and a slice of cake for her troubles." She began to fill another glass. "I like Deirdre, but misfortune follows her." "Like a ghost," Sadie and Bronagh shared a nervous look. They picked up their glasses. "Thanks, Emma. Sláinte." Sadie squinted around short-sightedly. Someone was waving to her across the bar. It was her daughter, Nora, in head-to-toe denim, with her husband, Pat, a smiling man, balding with a thin ponytail that extended beyond his shoulders. His face was round as the sun. Nora held up her hand and mimed a drink. Sadie held up her full glass and winced. The noise was intense. People raising their voices over Deirdre's jangling banjo. Next to Nora, Sean was leaning on the bar, his arm around Bunty, and Rory was in deep discussion with Neil and Maeve, while Lola looked bored. Sadie gripped Bronagh's arm. "Let's join the others." As she pushed through the crowd, greeting everyone as she progressed slowly forward, she felt something hard crunching beneath her foot. As she took a step forward, a short, square-shaped man in a heavy jacket yelped in pain. Sadie turned, horrified. "I'm sorry, Partlan." "My corns," Partlan Brown growled, his face red. "I'm in agony." "It must be all the hours on the beat." Sadie felt sorry for him. He never looked happy. Partlan gazed at the biscuit tin. "And I've been asked, as Ballycotton's guard, to be the judge tonight." "Your cake has no chance now, Sadie." Bronagh pretended to look troubled. "I don't suppose you're partial to pineapple puddings either, Partlan." "I thought Emma and Ryan were judging." Sadie was puzzled. "They're far too busy. No, they gave that job to me, and I have to say, Mrs. Doyle, as I'm not open to bribery." "As if we would," Bronagh said, mock horrified. "But Sadie's done a lovely death by chocolate." "I'm not sure I liked the name." Partlan gazed towards Deirdre, who was playing. I think there's enough tempting fate tonight with Deirdre here. She can't help her birthday, Sadie retorted, always quick to take the side of someone who couldn't defend themselves. Anyway, it's not about winning, it's about charity. And I'm sorry about squashing your toes, Partland. I'd leave the clumpy boots at home, but it's so cold outside. She gripped Bronagh's arm and tugged her away through the crowd. She was still worried about having injured a member of the Gardaí. I didn't mean to step on him, but he's always had it in for the O'Connors. Bronagh snorted. Forget him. Let's sup our stout and put our bakes on the end of the bar. Did you bring the recipe with your name on? I did. Sadie was gazing with admiration at the impressive spread. Look at Rory's lemon polenta cake. That looks melt in the mouth. People have gone to so much trouble. Meringues, Eton mess. Bronagh was drooling. And I hear someone made a gin and tonic tart. I might help myself to a bit of that after Partland's done judging. What? Look at that one on the shiny blue plate. It's Maeve's. Sadie was impressed. Fudgy Guinness chocolate cake with Irish buttercream. It's bound to win. Bronagh was amazed. It looks very professional. There was a loud family whoop, and they were suddenly hugged on all sides. Hello, Mammy, came from Sean and Nora. How are you doing, Auntie Bronagh, from everyone. What's the story, Grandmammy, from Rory with a kiss. Sadie and Bronagh beamed. We're fine. Neil kissed the top of Sadie's head. Are you ready for a refill, Mammy? Bunty took their tins. I'll put these on the bar. Maeve was preening like a peacock. Put them next to mine, Bunty. Don't you think my Guinness cake stands out? You can just throw mine in the bin, Bunty, Bronagh called mischievously. It's embarrassing. Pat wrapped an arm around her. I'll eat it, Auntie Bronagh. I love pineapple pudding. So do I, Nora agreed. Pat makes a lovely pina colada. We like those. I like the look of your chocolate cake, Mammy, Sean said loyally. It's bound to win. Or Bunty's scones. My brother's recipe. Bunty's voice was full of pride. Robert and Tressie love baking. Is she the Cornish lady? Nora asked. She is, Sadie nodded. They met at the bake-off last summer. The scones brought them together. We should go to Cornwall, Rory, Lola said loudly. How long would it take to drive there? We might do it in a day or two. Rory looked at Bunty for assurance. You can fly from Shannon in a few hours, though. You could take the ferry from Dublin to Holyhead and then drive, Bunty said. Robert would put you up in Devon, I'm sure, and you could go on from there. That sounds like heaven. Bronagh hadn't had a holiday in years. It might be lovely, just the two of us, Lola began. But Nora waved a finger to quieten her. Shh, now, the judging started. A bell rang and Sadie leaned forward excitedly. Ryan boomed from the other end of the bar. Thank you all for coming. We have 53 cakes and puddings that will now be judged by Partland Brown, who has kindly offered to pick the winner. Partland squeezed in between Sadie and Bronagh whispered, Will you sample them all? You won't be able to batch afterwards. I'll only try the ones that look nice, Partland said officiously. I can't eat 53, so I'll sample 10. The eyes judge first, and if they pass the Partland test, I'll try a small mouthful. The crowd closed in. Sadie felt a push in her back, and when she turned, she saw the face of Deirdre Quinn. Sorry, it was my banjo bumped you, Deirdre mumbled apologetically. Partland coughed, all self-important, and set about the process of judging, pointing to a certain cake, which Ryan passed across the bar dutifully. Partland picked it up, peered at it, and sniffed it. "I wouldn't eat that now he's stuck his nose in it," Bronagh commented loudly. Partland ignored her. The crowd was compressed, everyone leaning over each other for a better view. Bunty could be heard whispering, "That's mine," as Partland lifted a cream-filled scone and took a bite. "Very nice," Partland said, as if he knew everything about scones. "Perfect texture and lightness." "Robert's recipe," Sean said proudly. "He's my brother-in-law." Partland walked along the bar, sampling cake after pudding, while everyone watched tensely. He picked up a meringue and was helping himself to a creamy mouthful. "Italian meringue with buttercream, I think. Madagascan vanilla." Bronagh made a disapproving face. Partland was making it up. He pushed the pineapple upside-down cake to one side as if it were offensive, and reached for a slice of a rich dark cake. Maeve caught her breath. "My fudgy Guinness chocolate cake with Irish buttercream." Partland took a bite. Mmm. He rolled his eyes in ecstasy and took another bite. "Heaven, a mouthful of magic." He pushed another large spoonful into his mouth. "I declare this one the winner." "I've won!" Maeve exclaimed with joy. "He didn't even taste mine." Sadie's face crumpled with disappointment, but she wasn't surprised. "Or mine. Right, it's going into bin." Bronagh lifted up her pineapple pudding and dropped it in a waste paper bin with a thud. "It was rubbish anyway." She was about to turn away. "Wait a minute." Bronagh delved into the bin and snatched up a crumpled box indignantly. Her hands were covered with sticky bits of cake. "Look, it says here, Doughty's Delights, Ballycotton. And look, there's the price, €20. "What is it?" Sadie asked. "A ripped-up empty box from Doughty's. It says, Chocolate Guinness Cake, to be collected, Maeve O'Connor." Bronagh raised her voice. "Maeve's cheated?" "I did not." Maeve was furious, her cheeks red. Sadie immediately understood her embarrassment and felt sorry for her. She'd wanted to impress Neil. "It's a bought cake from Doughty's. They're the best in town. Jim Doughty's my cousin. He's a baker." Deirdre's voice came from behind, and she lurched towards the cake for a better look. "Let me see that box." Partland threw an arm towards Bronagh. "And give me the cake. Let's see if it fits." "Like Cinderella's shoe," Sadie whispered, fascinated. The crowd leaned in as one to examine the battered box. "Right, I've got it. Here you are." Bronagh tried to pass it to Sadie to pass to Partland, just as he was holding out the cake towards her to try it for size in the box. Sadie inserted the cake a bit too enthusiastically. She wasn't sure what happened next. It was too quick, too confusing. Deirdre pushed the banjo hard against her arm. The crowd surged. Perhaps someone else knocked into her. She didn't know how, but the cake, squashed inside its box, was propelled from her grasp and flew upwards, out of control. Partland must have moved forward at the wrong time. Sadie took a deep breath of shock as she saw his face plunge into the cake, and as it fell away there was a brown sticky mess stuck to him through which 2 eyes peered. Bronagh extended a finger and took a creamy bit that hadn't touched his skin, shoving it into her mouth quickly. "It tastes good." The crowd stepped back. Partland faced Bronagh and Sadie, cake and all. "You did that deliberately." "We did not," Bronagh said hotly. "You've assaulted a member of the Gardaí." "Well, we never meant to," Sadie began. Partland was hopping mad. "Assaulting an officer's a criminal offence." "Don't be silly, Partland." Bronagh said nervously. It was an accident, Sadie interrupted. Siding with Bronagh as she had done since they were children, it was second nature now. Partland blinked cake from his eyes. You're both as bad as each other, Sadie O'Connor. Hang on a minute. Sean's voice came from the bar. Mammy and Auntie Bronagh didn't mean anything by it. It's a deliberate attempt to interfere with my judging, damaging the property of another competitor. A piece of cake dripped from Partland's nose. The crowd roared. Someone called out, I'm liking the cakey makeup, Partland. Is it pancake? Ha ha, shut your cake hole, Partland, someone else guffawed. A chorus of insults followed. That's the icing on the cake. Feeling crummy, Partland. I heard of taking the biscuit, but Partland took the whole cake. Right, that's enough. Partland was furious now. He wiped his face with his fingers, revealing glowing cheeks. Someone will have to pay for this. And it was €20, that cake, Bronagh said with a grin. She grabbed Sadie's hand and whispered, We should run for it. Sadie looked around, her heart bumping with alarm. She was reminded of Bronagh's playground japes years ago, and the trouble that always followed her around. Sadie had always got into trouble too, defending her. What? Bron, come on. Bronagh clutched her friend's arm, and they scuttled through the crowd, out of the door into the cold, damp air of the car park. Bronagh pointed to the Ferrari. Let's get going. What? Sadie felt her heartbeat pound even more. She had the horrible feeling that Bronagh was going to do something she shouldn't. Again. I have one of Rory's keys in my handbag. What? Sadie repeated. We'll run for it. In the car. Just for a few hours. Bronagh put her hands on her hips until the heat dies down. Heat? Sadie panted. She watched as Bronagh opened the Ferrari door. I can see ice on my breath. Get in. Bronagh was already scrambling into the driving seat, fastening the seat belt. Sadie clambered in apprehensively. She'd seen that determined look on Bronagh's face so many times before, and every time it scared her. Where are we going? Anywhere. But it's Rory's car. He won't mind. It's just until Partland calms down. He wants to make a holy show of us. Shouldn't we just face up to him? Partland, that jumped-up little idiot. He's definitely not putting me in a cold cell. Bronagh started the engine. Let's go, Sadie. You never know. We might even have some fun. Fun? Sadie doubted it. We deserve a little trip anyway. Bronagh's eyes sparkled. Let's drive back to Kildare Avenue, pack a case and get the hell out of town. A case? Sadie was staring, dumbfounded. Have you lost the plot? It's a grand idea. Come on. Bronagh revved the engine, a smile spreading on her face. It's time for an adventure, Sadie. We're off, with Partland in hot pursuit. Didn't I tell you? We were just like Thelma and Louise. Chapter 3. Sadie rushed out of her house nervously, clutching her handbag and an ancient overnight case stuffed with pyjamas, a toothbrush and a change of clothes. Bronagh's bigger and fatter case was installed already. She was ready to go, revving the engine of the Ferrari. She'd already stuck a notice to Sadie's front door with blue tack. Sadie peered at it, reading aloud, Dear Rory, we took the car. It's only till Partland calms down. We'll bring it back safely tomorrow. She turned to Bronagh, confused. Are you serious? What else can we do? We'll tell Partland not to get his knickers in a twist. They're already twisted right up his... Bronagh hissed. Her breath missed on the air. Get in. Where will we go? Sadie was terrified. When Bronagh made her mind up, it was impossible to change it. We'll find a nice pub. I have my credit card. Sadie was dithering out of fear. This is a Ferrari, though. It goes like the wind. When did you last drive? My licence is still good. I got rid of the Fiat last year when it failed its NCT. Bronagh took Sadie's case from her hands and heaved it into the car. And my eyesight's pretty good with the glasses on. My optician told me that when I last had my eyes tested. Oh, yes, I came with you. You have great vision. I can't drive it. My licence expired, and I'd be scared to drive that thing anyway. Right. But shouldn't we stay and face the music? The idea terrified Sadie, but it was better than the alternative. Sean will sort it out. O'Neill can get Partlen a whiskey. He'd love to bang two old ladies up in the slammer, Bronagh said, and the twinkle in her eye was visible beneath the street lights. Sadie felt faint at the thought. But we can reason with him. We're talking about Partlen here. Bronagh waved Sadie towards the car. Besides, we'll stop in a lovely country pub. My treat. But Sadie was unconvinced. She heard a shout from the end of Kildare Avenue. A little man was running along, flapping his arms. There was a crowd following him. She glanced both ways, and her heart missed a beat. Jesus, it's Partlen come to arrest us, Bronagh gasped. Get in. Sadie didn't wait to be told again. She leapt in as fast as she could, slamming the door. Drive, Bronagh, like the clappers. Bronagh revved the engine again and they were off. She pointed a finger and hooted, Up yours, Partlen. Sadie stared wide-eyed at her friend as they screeched around the corner. Was that wise? He'll calm down. By tomorrow he'll be blaming it on Deirdre Quinn's birthday, and by that time we... Bronagh changed gear, and the Ferrari lurched like a kangaroo. We'll be miles away drinking whiskey and smoking cigarettes with very bad men. But we don't smoke. Sadie tugged her headscarf tighter against the night air. Bronagh wasn't listening. They hurtled through a set of green lights and onwards into the darkness. As Bronagh accelerated, Sadie put a hand on her head. She felt dizzy and sick with fear. This car sounds like an aeroplane. They'll hear us coming from miles. But they won't catch us, will they? Bronagh winked. Come on, let's live it up a bit. Partlen Brown squinted at Sadie's front door and folded his arms. They've gone. Sean, Bunty, Nora, Pat, Neil and Maeve peered over his shoulder to read the note. Rory, always concerned for his grandmother's well-being, pushed to the front, pulled it down from the door, blue tack and all, and said, well, they'll bring the car back tomorrow. He turned to Neil, completely untroubled. Can I borrow the Audi for a bit, Da? Of course you can, Neil said. They've stolen your car, Rory. Lola was astonished. Aren't you furious? You could make an official complaint, Partlen urged. Why would I want to do that? Grandmammy and great-auntie Bronagh are family. We O'Connors share everything. Rory shrugged. I'll get it back soon enough. It's only a car. Lola was horrified. It's a Ferrari. It's just a car, though, Rory said. Lola clearly didn't understand his family. His grandmother's actions made him smile. I don't mind at all. It's not the car that worries me. The baking competition was declared null and void, Maeve whined, and I was the winner. No, you weren't, a chorus of voices replied cheerily. Doughties make good cakes, though. Neil seemed unaware that Maeve's cheeks glowed with shame. Don't worry, Maeve. Emma and Ryan said the good causes won. Sean was delighted. It's about the charity, not the bakes. Everyone's in there now eating enough pudding to get them through next year. We can run the competition again, Bunty agreed. And Deirdre's in the hole playing Wild Rover and scoffing meringues like no tomorrow. Everyone's happy, Pat said. No one cares about the Doughty's cake, Bunty said kindly, wrapping an arm round Maeve, who hunched her shoulders. I shouldn't have brought it in the box, but I wanted to keep it looking nice, Maeve protested. You're all missing the point, Nora folded her arms. Mammy and Auntie Bronagh have run away. She turned to Partlin. That's harassment of two old ladies, and it's your fault. What are you going to do about it? Me? Partlin was amazed. I wouldn't have laid a hand on them. You threatened to arrest them, Pat reminded him. I didn't mean it, Partlin stammered. But they're helpless pensioners, Neil said. Helpless? Those two? Partlin's brow clouded. They'll be back tomorrow, won't they? And I'll buy them a half pint and we'll forget it. And what if they don't come back? Sean asked. What if they have an accident in that car? You'd be responsible, Partlin. Partlin scratched his head. Should I alert the Gardaí in County Clare, ask them to look out for two old ladies in a Ferrari? No way. Rory was finding the whole thing too funny. Can you imagine that chase with great Auntie Bronagh at the wheel, thinking she's Lewis Hamilton? It doesn't bear thinking about. Leave them till they're ready. We should go back to the pub, get a drink in, and have some cake, Sean said. Can't you ring them and tell them to come home? Lola asked. What an idea, Neil chuckled. Mammy with a mobile phone. I bought her one once. She won't use it. Can Bronagh drive? Bunty looked concerned. Oh, she's fine, Neil said. She's driven the Ferrari before, too. She liked it better than her old Fiat, that's for sure. They can borrow it. The Ferrari will outrun everything else on the road anyway, Rory said confidently. They'll be back tomorrow. It's Sunday. Yes, it's Sunday, Sean said, as if that were the answer to everything. They'll be fine. Dandy, Neil agreed. I feel depressed, Maeve groaned. Everyone knows I cheated. Ah, don't worry, Sean reassured her. It's only a cake. Partlin looked worried enough for them both. If anything happened to those poor old ladies, it's down to me. Poor old ladies, Nora laughed once. I'd like to see anyone messing with Auntie Bronagh and Mammy. They won't take any prisoners. Let's go back to the hole, Neil suggested. I'll buy you a whiskey, Partlin. In fact, I'll get everyone one, Rory said, with the hope that everyone would calm down and let it blow over. He preferred peace to arguments. He wrapped an arm around Lola, and we'll all stick some money in the charity box. Neil added, and I'll get you a mojito, Maeve. Cocktails always cheer you up. Not tonight, they won't. Maeve was still thinking about the Guinness cake. Right. Partlin looked a bit happier. Maeve? Neil wrapped an arm around his wife. Will we go? All right. Maeve still looked miserable. We need to keep this Baltic cold out somehow, Sean agreed. I'll call round first thing tomorrow and get Mammy some breakfast. She'll be starving when she gets home. I'm starving, Sadie said, as they drove up the M18, the engine making its distinctive throaty roar. Her stomach growled to prove her point. What time is it? 9 o'clock. I'm famished too. We should have eaten properly earlier on. Bronagh overtook a small yellow car and noticed how the driver stared at the Ferrari with envy. This car's a cracker. So, will we stop somewhere for a bite? Sadie was more concerned about the gnawing in her stomach, and the increasing ache between her eyes. "Can we get our heads down?" We will, Bronagh said, "just as soon as we turn onto the M6. "Where will we go?" Sadie wriggled in the seat. She'd imagined that an expensive car would be more comfortable. She wished she'd brought a cushion. "Aren't you stiff as a board?" "I am. I just thought we'd get as far as Dublin. Rory says it takes him 2.5 hours to get there from home.